Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Wherever you are, how you might be listening and watching, thank you for making this part of your day. My name is Justin,
My name's
alongside
Alexander.
Alexander. Sorry, I think I cut you off there. Go ahead and say hello again.
Hello again.
Some people. And this is the hockey podcast you're about to hear. And just remember, an opinion without 3.14 is just an onion. And on that note, where would you like to start, Alexander?
Well, as of starting this recording, it was announced like almost literally an hour ago that Nashville has fired Peter Laviolette
Right?
and his assistant coach.
And
So there's some changes coming in Nashville.
say,
So we
look
should
at
probably
that.
start there.
Breaking some news.
Probably
All
should start.
right.
I mean, I'm only like an hour behind Elliot Friedman, so I feel pretty good about myself right now.
Right? I know. It's like, this must be what it
Yeah.
feels like to do this on a consistent basis.
And going into tonight, you and I were talking about who the next coach would be fired, and Peter Laviolette in Nashville was the guy that we were probably going to talk about. Of if somebody's going next, it's probably going to be
Probably
him. And
him.
lo and behold, we didn't get a chance to have that conversation and predict this. It was, oh, well, fine. Then I guess we'll talk about it this way.
Yeah, right. See, and you called it. I thought he might last a little bit closer to the AllStar break, but you made some good points about how they can't wait that long. And sure enough, they decided they couldn't wait that long.
Which I believe it was shortly after their loss in the Winter Classic on the 1st of January
Oh, yeah.
that either the president or the general manager said we are not planning on making any coaching changes at this time. Like this was only just a few days ago. And so I was like, really? Wow. Okay. I mean, I guess they understood that there was talk happening, and it was like, yeah, maybe we need to quell these rumors. 2 days later, 3 days later, whatever it was, boom, the axe falls and he's gone. It's like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, really?
People get on the same page. Like, although I will say, one thing I've learned from watching sports basically my whole life is most of the time, anytime a coach or somebody says, "Oh yes, we're definitely not doing this," a week later, 2 weeks later, "Oh hey, look, they did the thing they said they weren't going to do."
True.
So I don't know why,
True.
but I think it's just how things happen.
Yeah, we're going to throw a smoke screen so you guys know what we're doing, even though we tell you that's not what we're doing,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
just
Silly.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I mean, we know
um,
it's going to
your,
happen.
your thoughts? Should he have been fired?
I, I think so. I
Would you have
think
fired him?
probably. Let's see, where they made the playoffs last year. How deep did they go? Do you remember? Second round?
I believe they lost in the first round to Dallas,
Oh yes,
didn't they? Yes,
that
because
sounds correct.
they won the conference because St. Louis and Winnipeg had to play each other.
Right. Yep.
And all three of those teams were fighting for
Was it like a
um,
point difference
the
between the
top of the
three?
Central. Yeah, it was super tight. I think a couple of them were actually tied.
Yeah, that
Um,
sounds right.
so Nashville got the one seed and got to play Dallas.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. It's always a tough one because yes, I do think they are underachieving, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, they've made the playoffs what last few years at least, right? With him.
Sure, sure.
So
No, Nashville's done fairly well under Laviolette. I mean, Nashville's actually done fairly well for a number of years, regardless kind of who was coaching them. And Barry Trotz used to coach for them, and they made the playoffs and upset some teams even
right.
then. Nashville actually has had a pretty decent team for most of their existence. It seems like. Um, as far as whether or not you should fire him now, um, and I'm so over this whole hey, let's talk about where the Blues were last year kind of
I
thing.
know that's like the worst thing that could possibly have happened, except for
That
Blues fans.
and if we can get rid of all the 2020 puns, would be fantastic. Because we're 6 days in and I already can't take it anymore.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
Oh my gosh, don't. Um, so I can see where saying, look, in January there's still a time to make a big enough change that still has enough time to work itself out and change the outcome of where we're going. And honestly, with as tight as the Western Conference is right now, I would I would say if you want to try and make a run at this, now is kind of the time to get that jump start because you really need to turn things around right now if you want to have a legitimate shot. You can't wait till the All-Star break. You can't wait till the trade deadline. You can't wait any longer given where they're at because they're basically the fifth wild card right now. So they got to jump
Right.
three teams to get into that second wild card spot.
I mean, they do have 3 games in hand, but
Mm-hmm.
still
And
gotta
and
do
and that's
something
kind
with
of
those.
a benefit to the new guy that comes in. It's like, well, you have 3 games in hand before you actually out of this, because if you can come in and win those next 3 games under a new coach, with that whole short momentum swing, you're going to be right back in the wild card hunt.
Right.
And you're not getting that out of Nashville right now. And honestly, in watching like the Winter Classic and watching, they had a 2-0 lead on Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
When the momentum turned in that game, or it started to turn, Peter Laviolette called a timeout to gather his guys around him, trying to quell that momentum. Didn't matter. His guys did not come out playing any sharper, any more on fire. They continued to get pushed around and beat down by Dallas until Dallas ended up winning the game.
So do you think they could
That
quit on him then, or?
I think it was just more evidence that that's not a team that's playing for the coach anymore,
Right.
for whatever reason. What that is, I couldn't tell you, but it's a team that is just not gelling the way it needs to gel, is not playing the way it needs to play, given the talents and efforts that have been put into that team and the moves they made last offseason to be like, okay, we are too defensively strong. Let's get rid of a defenseman. Let's bring in a top line forward with Matt Duchene. And that hasn't turned into a team that's scoring a ton more goals. It's just not it's not something that's working right now.
Yeah.
And they should be a solid playoff team. I mean, they have a 2 goaltender setup, which is really kind of the way to do it now.
The goaltenders are no slouches either, so
they're not. But like if they're not playing well, if the defense isn't playing well in front of them, because the offense isn't playing well in front of them, then everything kind of works all the way back,
effect.
and it's tough. One thing I will say for Nashville is when it comes to looking at playoff picture and whatnot, you will generally find that the goal differential, positive or negative for a team, is usually right around the playoff line. So all the teams with positives make the playoffs, the teams with negatives miss the playoffs. There's usually 1 or 2 outliers here or there,
correct,
year to year, but otherwise it's fine. Right now, Nashville is a +5.
Yeah.
Even though they're in the 5th wildcard spot. So that tells me they're a better team than where they're at currently in the standings, just because they have those games in hand. And if they win two of their next 3 games, they would be at the same level that Edmonton and Calgary are at points wise, with the amount of games that those guys have played right now. So they really are a better team than their standings show, but they have a lot of teams to jump. And it's not an easy place to play because they have to play St. Louis and Colorado and Dallas. And it's like they have to play a bunch of tough teams to try and make up ground. And
they're hosting the Bruins
that's going to be tough
tomorrow, and then they're in Chicago on Thursday. I mean, Chicago's kind of an up and down team anyway, so it's kind of hard to tell what you're going to get from them, I feel. But
yeah, Chicago could just barely beat Detroit, or they could absolutely wax somebody else, and it's kind of hard to tell what Chicago team's going to show up.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's just hard to say. But yeah, I think you're right. I think the coach change probably needed. I wonder if they're trying to get in on some of that coaching magic, quote unquote, from half the other coaches that have been fired this year.
If you want to keep talking coaches, look at what they've done in Toronto. Since Keefe has been there, in that time frame, they are the best record team since Keefe took over in the league.
Yeah,
it's like, changes make a difference. Seeing what's happening in Calgary, Calgary's back in the hunt.
That's what I was gonna say. They were -16 when Peters got fired. They're now -11, and they've put together a couple mini win streaks here and there. And I mean,
and the players look better. Like Gaudreau looks faster again. He looks more confident again. It's like wherever that came from is a huge factor. And if it comes from the coach or it comes from just a coaching change in general, doing something from the managerial level that motivates the players isn't very easy to do unless it's a coaching change.
Right. No, I definitely think it was needed in Calgary. If it didn't happen now, I think it would happen at the end, just like their traditional coaching carousel. But I mean, hopefully they keep Ward around, and I mean, guys seem to like him so far. I mean, I know it's early, but we've known him for a little while, I feel, and yeah, I think we'll just kind of see what happens. That's why I'm just open for a playoff push, and when it's squeaking by the skin of our teeth, it's fine.
Yeah. Hey, in is in.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, once you're in, you are in. And if he's been doing some weird line combos, but he's been getting some good responses from the guys. And there's some of these weird line combos have been coming through. Okay, so
all right. When you have players scoring goals that nobody expected to score goals, it's like that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Luch got number 4 last night,
which is absolutely unpredictable in my book, apparently.
Yeah, I guess
Um,
we were too low on that 3.5.
yeah. So for context, for people that weren't at our dinner table when we were having that conversation, um, I asked Justin earlier in the year, 3.5 goals for Lucic, over or under, and he took the over. I'll give him credit; he
Say,
took the over
I
because,
hemmed and hawed for probably like good five
well,
minutes at least.
yeah, and he may stop at four. Let's be honest.
That's yeah,
Um, but no, to see him, well, he put like 3 goals up in 3 games, and suddenly it was like, who
and it
is
was
this dude?
all after.
Uh huh.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think he's like 5 or 10 points more now since the coaching change than he was the entire time Peters was there.
Hmm.
So I
And
think,
so,
yeah,
yeah, but by the time we get to the end of the year and we really evaluate this whole Neil for Lucic trade, it's going to look a lot closer than it was early on, which
yeah,
is which is what you have to do to ride out a trade talk.
exactly. And I
So,
think I can't remember if we talked about it on here or not, or just a side chat. But what Luch brings to the table for the Flames is way more than what Neil brought. I mean, yeah, Neil's a much better scorer. Don't get me wrong, but Luch brings that energy and the threat of an imminent hit should you take a cheap shot on one of the guys. Like
hmm.
I've heard one of the Flames podcast I listen to say the amount of cheap shots that Gaudreau has received this year, like slashing the hands and stuff like that, is down a fair amount. And it's like, that's kind of weird. I wonder why that would happen.
Hmm.
So
Somebody put a pit bull in the backyard, and suddenly the stuff stopped getting stolen out of the backyard.
yeah, pretty much. But like I said, just the energy he brings. I think it was his first goal of the season. Like he scores it, and one of the guys just jumps with excitement after he scored it. I'm like,
Hmm.
that's what you want in your team. The guys are generally excited for each other and bringing that. And
Hmm.
they were also saying that Neil was kind of pouty last year when things were going well. So it's like,
Hmm.
kind of explain a lot. But I mean, so yeah,
Well, right now, Calgary's a team that's got that continue to fight attitude in them because, like, I watched their game last night, or the end of their game last night,
mm-hmm.
where they tie it up, send it to overtime. I didn't watch the shootout because
Yeah,
I've decided this is my rule that I will watch overtime. Once you go to a shootout, I don't care anymore because how you determine the winner doesn't matter to me and isn't entertaining.
yeah,
So
I
I
agree.
turned it off. I saw where eventually, yeah, they won in the shootout.
7 rounds. I was gonna text you.
Ugh,
Yeah, that was.
it's just ridiculous.
I watch it just because I'm like, I don't want to start anything else right now. I guess I'll see what happens here.
Hmm. I think that's an area where the league needs some rule changes.
Yep,
Uh,
I agree. I've
and
always thought extend it
yeah,
out 5 more minutes for overtime, or at least 2.5 more minutes for overtime. I think you'll solve a lot more of them instead of going to the shootout.
yes. Well, I wonder if you're going to see more lines rolled in a longer OT because in
Right?
5 minutes, McDavid will play 4 of those minutes
Yeah.
for Edmonton.
Right.
Like you put out your big line guys a lot that way. One of the things that has happened though is two issues I have. One, yes, it's only 5 minutes long, and I'm actually of the opinion it should just be an open clock, and you should play until somebody scores.
There you go.
Forget there ever being a shootout. If you guys want to, if you're like, well, what if we get too tired and we start getting injured and stuff, then let in a goal.
Uh-huh.
You'll get your
And
one
get off the
point
ice.
and get off
So
the ice if that's your problem.
like playoff format,
Um,
but still a 3-on-3.
Still a 3-on-3, but even not a 20-minute period. Like
Oh,
you
so
you'll
there's
play
no breakage at
45
all. I
minutes.
mean, clean the
I
ice.
don't
I'm
care.
assuming.
No, just keep going. I mean, you if I would say, yeah, probably after 10 minutes or something
Uh-huh.
at a stoppage, after 10 minutes or 7 minutes or whatever you want to make it, you
Yeah.
go out and clean the ice because, yeah, typically you would be doing that. That's fine just from a fairness and competitive standpoint.
Right. Yeah. Because that
Um,
puck could have made it in, but there's so much slush on the ice it couldn't
yeah,
go.
yeah. Suddenly it looks like a winter classic.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so um, that would be one thing I do. And if you want to bump it out to 10 minutes, but still you're going to have guys that get down to like, you know, 9 minutes left, and they're just like, okay,
We're almost
we're
in the
tired.
shootout.
Let's just save it for the
Yeah.
shootout because I'm not going to play in the shootout anyway.
Right.
Uh, I think that would make it maybe a little more entertaining. But here's the other rule change that I would make to the 3-on-3 overtime, and that is we have seen puck possession become the key to this. Like
Yes.
when it first came in, it was really exciting because there were 2-on-1 breakaways, straight up 1-0 breakaways over and over again during the um, initial year where we had three on
That
three.
was
The
so
teams figured out
exciting.
it was,
Yeah.
but then teams figured out
Then coaches had to
that
coach it up and ruin it for
that okay,
everybody.
well, if we control in their zone, we can pull it back out. we can change our guys. They can't get to the bench to change their guys because you flip the
Uh-huh.
ends. And now we can go and play puck possession 3-on-3. Puck possession 3-on-3 is honestly kind of boring. I mean,
I agree.
puck possession generally is kind of boring.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
here's my rule. If you are in offensive zone in 3-on-3 overtime and you intentionally bring the puck back over the blue line into the neutral zone,
Hmm.
it's a dead play. It's like an offsides, but now the faceoff comes back to your defensive
There you go.
zone, and you don't get to change.
So it'd be basically like an icing.
Yes, essentially it would be an icing. It would be an instant whistle, and the other team can change, and you can't. So if you want to play
That's
possession
interesting.
inside the offensive zone, go ahead. If you want to change a guy, he can skate all the way to his bench and come back, and your two can maintain possession against three. That's fine. I think you'll get back to more breakaways because there'll be more turnovers in the offensive
Yeah,
zone,
I agree. I would
which
like
is
that.
what creates those breakaways and those opportunities.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea. I'm on
So
board
you
with
know it's
that.
not going to happen, but by golly,
No.
it would fix the boredom of that.
Yeah, because that is one thing. Because there's usually a good 2 or 3 dead minutes of skating around, skating. Oh, our play isn't perfectly set up, so let's take it back out.
Mm-hmm.
Skate around, skate around. Oh, nope, our entry got messed up. Okay, let's take it back. Just go. Shoot the puck, man. Shoot the puck.
And you can hear it from the bench. Guys will be skating with it, and somebody hollers something out, and the guy with the puck casually skates back to the neutral zone, not far enough, like he goes basically about to the center line
Mm-hmm.
with the puck. The other two guys come and change.
Yep.
He passes the puck, and he goes and changes. And then they casually bring it back in the offensive zone and continue to cycle the puck.
Right.
And it's so predictable and it's so boring. That's not what you're trying to do in 3-on-3 overtime.
No, that's not the point. No, I like that change. Yeah, like I said, it would bring a lot of more excitement and change up the strategy a little bit, so they couldn't just milk it and be boring. Because that's what we went on
No.
3-on-3. That's why I changed 3-on-3, right? So it'd be something
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. I think to try and end games quicker because the 4-on-4 overtimes kept going to shootouts as well. And I thought, oh well, 3-on-3 there'll be more scoring and we'll end these games in overtime as opposed to a shootout. And now teams have figured out how to make that not happen either. And so it's like, okay, you guys need to step in and actually make a good rule change, which the NHL making a good rule change is very rare because there's been a number of rule changes, and one, they don't change rules often enough,
No.
in my opinion. They don't respond well enough. And two, when they do change them, they don't always change them for the better. It's like, no, we want this changed because we want this better, and you guys made it worse
Right?
by doing something stupid.
Kind of addresses it, I guess, but not like the root issue. Like one
Mm-hmm.
I think they should change is where your foot can be on offsides. I think as long as it can be above the blue line, like so it doesn't have to be on the ice, but as long as your skate is on the blue line, like above it, I think that
Mm-hmm.
should still count as an onside play. That way people aren't dragging their ice or dragging their foot on the ice, and then these stupid replays. Oh man, I can't tell. Is that a pixel off? Ooh, that might be a pixel off. That wouldn't matter because
Well, but now aren't you going to have to try and determine, okay, is that foot that's not on the ice now over the edge of the blue line or not over the edge of the blue line?
well, yeah, but I don't think their feet are gonna be like 4 feet up in the air. So I mean, it should be pretty easy.
Oh, I guarantee you they will be.
They'll be jumping in the zone.
Oh, yeah, because they know, okay, if they don't call offside now, you won't be able to tell from a camera angle that I am or am not. Like, how many times have you seen a puck that was hit with what could have been a high stick
Yeah,
go into the net? And they're like, well, it's a crossbar. Well, from this angle, yeah, but from this angle, okay, well, if the guy is this tall on his skates and he holds it here, is he as tall as a
right.
crossbar? It's like, then it turns into this, well, from this angle it definitely is, and this angle it definitely is. You get the exact same thing.
I don't know. I think
Uh,
people still want to like keep their legs stretched out as far as possible, just to make sure. And they wouldn't be like bending it back or anything. But I mean,
I, I think the rule should be this: one, referees 95% of the time nail the onside offside call.
yes,
They do get it right the majority of the time.
yes,
The every time they don't get it right and they blow the whistle, well, we never really know because nothing happens. They blow the whistle.
right.
It's the time when they get it wrong and somebody scores when they got it wrong. So we're dealing with a very small fraction of time. However, it happens often enough, or could have happened often enough, that we review it a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what it should be: we call it off. We don't call offside. Somebody scores a goal. The other team challenges.
Okay.
You have 30 seconds to look at
Yes, that was the other
three
thing I was gonna
angles of the
say.
replay. Three angles of the replay in real time.
Yes.
Because what that's going to do, that's going to get rid of the Matt
These
Duchene
ticky
goal that
tacky.
created this whole thing. It's like, oh, that's obvious.
Yeah.
If it's not that dead obvious, don't
If
worry
he's not
about it.
8 feet in the zone, yeah.
Yes, yes. Um, and I understand it's an actual like physical rule. Therefore, it's not like a judgment call, like a penalty, like hooking or holding.
Or a
It's more of a
goaltender
judgment call.
interference.
Offside shouldn't actually be a judgment call.
Yeah.
But honestly, if it's this much, we have to slow it down this much and look at it this tight. It didn't affect the outcome of the play.
Yeah. So if somebody's trying to go off on a change, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah. Um, so no, if it takes more than 30 seconds,
that's the other
because
thing I was gonna say. Put a time limit on it.
every one that I've seen get overturned and said it's been determined that there was offsides of the play, no goal.
Uh huh.
It's taken less than 30 seconds to look at that
Oh,
because
easy.
they go to the thing, they look at it, and they're like,
Oh
"Yep, how much time
yeah.
do we put back on the clock?
He's a mile off.
Okay,
Yeah.
hit it. Yep, no goal.
I think the time adjustment is what takes the longest on that one.
Probably. Time adjustments are tricky things.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That the other rule change I've always thought about is on a power play, if a goal is scored, period, the guy comes back out of the box.
Say that again.
If on a power play, a goal is scored by either team,
Oh,
the
okay,
guy comes back out.
gotcha.
Because
So if you can score a shorthanded goal, you can undo the.
yes, because I got this idea because like watching, I don't remember who. I think it's against the Ducks, Flames and Ducks, and the Flames were trying to come back, and the Ducks drew a penalty. They're up on the power play. Flames get a shorthanded goal, tie it up, and then the Ducks continued on the power play and scored. I'm like, they shouldn't get rewarded for giving up a shorthanded goal in this
Mm-hmm.
situation. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that should be punishment. So that's my thought. It's like, and I think that'd that'd make it real interesting for a shorthanded goal.
And that's only going to be for 2 minute minors or
Correct.
4 minute double
Yes.
minors.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes to stay. That stays how it is. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for like I say, next goal, guy comes out no matter who scores it. I think that.
I'd be okay with that.
Right. I also think you might
You
get
know,
a few more guys trying for shorthand goals.
yes, I was going to say. Then you're going to have that guy that like clears it and he just kind of throws it down behind the net and goes for a change. Whereas now maybe he'd be like, you know what, I might try something.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
You
the
know,
one I've thought about.
I would also like to see, and it's not a rule change, teams that are killing penalties and one guy gets the puck down 1-on-2, in the opposite end. He's just trying to kill off clock. Throw it all the way back down to your end and kill more time.
I've
Like
seen
play
that
puck
like
possession
once
for
or
as long as you
twice.
can with your four guys,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't put yourself in a position where you're going to turn it over and suddenly it's going to be a 2-on against your tender. But I feel like with the skill that's in this league, you should be able to dump that puck back towards your end, have one of you guys pick it up, kill more time, and then ice it all the way down again.
Yeah, like I said, I've seen that like one or two times, but it's always seemed like an accident. Like the guy's kind of skating it out of the zone, and there's two or three guys there, and he's not quite to, center ice or quote unquote safe enough
Mm-hmm.
place, so he just dumps it back. It's like, yeah, why don't? I don't think about because I think we talked about this before, and I think you're right. It's like, why don't teams do that a little bit more?
Mm-hmm.
The opportunity's there. Just need to
It's probably the same reason that they use the drop pass when they're on,
don't get me
because that's
started on
just the
that.
way it's
Oh.
always been, and therefore that's the way we're always going to do it. That's why it's that way.
Just to be clear, you're
it's
talking about the
just-
drop pass for entering the zone on the power play?
Yes, where one guy skates up the ice like he's going to go in, gets the center ice, stops, and then throws it back towards his blue line, and somebody else picks it up and skates in, and then gets up to the blue line and then makes a pass 2 feet to his left to do this standing on the wall, and then that guy takes it and throws it all the way around the boards. It's like
That to me
one,
is the
dump and
dumbest
chase,
way to do
or
it.
two, if you take a skill player, you give him a full head of steam coming at
Uh-huh.
that defense that's standing on the blue line,
Uh-huh.
he's going to have a breakaway opportunity.
Oh yeah.
Like even if as he's speeding up the ice, he makes one pass up to a guy that's by the blue line, and that guy one taps it around the defense, that guy with the burst of momentum is going to blow right through that line and be a goaltender.
Yeah. It's like I can't tell you how many times I've seen it get fumbled and the defensive team pick it up and shoot it back down and then it takes another 10 to 15 seconds to reset.
Yeah.
Because literally everybody except for the puck carrier is on the blue line. It's like I mean every now and again, sure, mix it up a little bit, but every single time so they know what's coming and what happens, I can't stand it. Like it drives me nuts every time I see it.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to get a hold of me after hearing some of these ideas, please do
Right.
so. You can find me on the Twitter. You can find me on the Gram. I'm out there. Let's have it.
Right. Yeah. Just shoot us an email.
I'm
That's fine.
I'm not on the Gram.
Or the Twitter.
I'm on the Twitter,
All right.
but you'll have a hard time finding me.
Yeah, probably.
I decided that I'm too popular, and therefore I need my own incognito account so I can follow the people I want to follow without
Right.
them
The
knowing I'm
burner account.
following them. Yeah, so I'm nothing but a burner account.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I guess everybody has to have one. But
Uh,
yeah, I don't know. Do you think Tortorella had one to defend himself from his rant?
I think that would have been a good idea, um, because by golly, that man went off, and he
Oh
went off
yeah,
hard.
he did.
And I know he does that. Like I know he's known for that. Like a Torts rant is a thing because
Epic.
there's a catalog
Oh
of
yeah,
the
I
different
can't
ones
wait
he's
for the
gone on.
compilation when he retires.
Yeah, yeah. I just want the remix
Yeah.
that like is set to some music and some auto tone, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
um, I mean you could probably make a wonderful anti NHL commissioner rule making officiating song on just Tortorella rants.
Oh, I agree.
Um,
I'd I'd almost pay for somebody to do that.
so if people listening don't know why Tortorella was ranting on his recent one, a little bit of context: they're in a game, the score is tied. Right towards the end of the game, the opposing team is called for a penalty. The puck is touched, clock is stopped, and then Columbus, sorry, goes on the power play. When the puck is touched by the penalized team, the clock is supposed to instantly stop.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch the broadcast, they touch the puck about 19.2 seconds left. The clock runs for another second and a tenth and stops at 18.1. Typically, in pretty much every situation I've seen, they look at it to make sure that all the right time is on the clock. They reset the clock to when it should be at that point in the game. They don't necessarily always do that. I don't think like if there's 10 minutes left to go in the first, they're not that picky. But towards the end of
Right.
the game, where this might matter, they do.
Yeah. And turns out it
Then
did matter.
it did because Columbus then actually does on that power play score a goal to win the game, but it happens like 3/10 of a second after the clock hit double zeros. So if they would have had an extra 1.1 seconds, the shot that went in would have been inside of regulation time, and they wouldn't have gone to actually overtime. This was all in overtime. Then they wouldn't have gone to a shootout. In said
Right.
shootout, the first shooter for I believe they were playing the Blackhawks.
That
I
sounds
think they
right.
were playing the Blackhawks. I think it was Kane that did the move.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
That
Kane,
sounds
Kane
right.
was Kane was the second move that scored.
Yeah.
Because Kane was a cool guy. The first shooter makes a move, scores a goal, and the Columbus goaltender clearly is not healthy after he tries to make the save and is like grabbing like his crotch or his leg or a lower body injury and gets himself off the ice. So the backup goaltender, who's dead cold, who hasn't played since March of last year or whatever, he has to come in and now take a shootout cold,
Ugh.
which doesn't go well.
No, no,
And
it's
so
not.
Tortorella's rant was about the officiating, the officials that did not go and look at the clock and fix the clock the way they should have, which there's two sides to that story. And then so it never should have gone to a shootout, and therefore his goaltender wouldn't have been injured, who is now out for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And as Tortorella said, they screwed us. And so there was much more profanity and
Oh,
negative things
much
said
more. Much.
in that rant. But it was a fantastic Tortorella rant, and so that was a very
Yeah.
entertaining thing that happened. What are your thoughts? Do you think he was justified in what he said? Because he did get levied like a $20,000
Oh, yeah.
fine a few days later for that.
Yeah. I mean, I can see both sides of it too, but yeah, it's like the rule is the time is supposed to stop immediately. Like if it's like 5/10 of a second, 4/10 of a second, okay, sure, big deal. But that's a second. How many games have you seen where a team has scored with like zero point 0.8 seconds left on the period?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It matters, and it's not like it's that hard to figure out. it takes you probably 30 seconds to go, oh, yeah, we were right. Okay, put this back on time. All right, let's go. But that being said, I don't think they can do that because I think that would open up a whole can of worms. So I think it almost has to be like a coach's challenge kind of thing. Because then you get everybody, oh, yeah, there should be more time on the clock. Yeah.
Well, I think that with like I would say less than a minute to go
Sure.
on any stoppage, just have a quick look. Did we stop the clock when we should have stopped the clock?
Each period or just a third and overtime?
I would probably say each period,
Okay.
just because sometimes teams do score in the waning moments of the
Oh, yeah.
period.
Yeah.
So each period and overtime, it's not going to add that much to it because a lot of times you can just quickly fix that. You can just, the timekeeper can turn on his light. The ref comes over and says, "Hey, I'm changing the clock from,
Oh, yeah. It'd be super easy for him to figure that out, too.
10.7 seconds left to 11 seconds left or whatever." We have the technology to do this, right?
Yeah, it's not hard.
It
doesn't
I
cost
think
much.
one of the issues that I heard was that what was shown on the broadcast wasn't completely in sync with the actual clock on the ice,
Oh, weird.
and that's why
That's
they
why
kept it
didn't.
where they kept it.
So that makes sense.
And so, but again, that's okay. How do I know what actually happened? Because I don't necessarily trust the NHL to be like, "Yep, we actually messed that one up. We're sorry." I think it's more, we're going to suspend, we're going to fine the coach for what he said, and we didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that there wasn't any ownership taken by the NHL, um, and
Yeah.
that's the way it is. Maybe from now on, with this having happened, we hit the situation again. There will be a better communication between the referees, the timekeepers, and the coaches as to what the amount of time is left in the game and why that was the case. It seemed like there was a bit of confusion, a little bit of he said kind of stuff going on. Ultimately, only one person came out with a voice, and that was Tortorella, and that voice was quite loud, quite profane, and quite entertaining.
And quite angry, yes. And quite entertaining, yes. As they always are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
is he like the...
Speaking of...
Oh, go ahead.
What's that?
I'll say, is he the Popovich of the NHL world?
I don't follow Popovich stuff.
I don't either, but I know just enough that he has some great one-liners to reporters asking stupid questions. And it's hilarious. And if anybody else was I'd be like, "Oh man, I can't believe they said that," but it's Pop. Yeah, he said.
I think of like Jim Mora maybe, or I think of Dennis Green, but those guys only have like one or two points. Torts has a ton of them.
He does.
Just a ton of them.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
And then he walks off and says, "I'm not taking any questions. Yeah, I'm not taking any questions." Basically, he started the conference with what he wanted to say.
He didn't take any at all.
And he walked off. Which I think, even if his tirade wasn't what it was, if he just came in there and said, "We got screwed by the officiating tonight, I'm not taking questions," and walked off, he still would have got fined for not taking questions from the media.
Probably.
So part of that fine had to come anyway, just for not fulfilling his contractual obligation to the media post game.
Right.
And I think the rest of it was for what he said about the league and the officiating.
It was just like, what? I'm already here.
And the dictionary he chose to pull from.
Yeah, I would agree with that. 100%.
But no, all very, very entertaining, particularly when it's not your team.
Yes, very good, very true.
So, what else do we have? We're looking forward to this coming month, I believe, is the AllStar game.
Looking forward to a loose term.
I would say, are you looking forward to that?
Actually, I think I look more forward to the skills competition than the actual game itself.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I like the game, but it's like, ooh, yay. But because I feel that way about any AllStar game, pretty much.
I could absolutely go off on a rant of the AllStar game. And it's the kind of thing where if I get started too hard on this, I'm not going to go full Tortorella.
Well, that's
but
good.
I will tell you, I'm already starting to get my blood pressure worked up here.
And might have to bring someone up in the next one too,
huh? Maybe, or maybe just vow to never talk about the AllStar game again unless there are changes that I want changed.
All right.
Maybe I'll just hit some of my key points, and I'll let you help me work through this as part of my therapy.
Okay.
First,
Uh huh.
the decision-making process is totally rigged. All right, we didn't think for a moment that anybody other than McDavid, McKinnon, and Ovi
Uh
were going
huh.
to be
Oh
the
yeah.
winners of that division, and there was going to be maybe a split between Matthews and Pasternak, right?
Right.
Like that really wasn't in doubt.
No.
And I don't think anybody thought that was in doubt. And the NHL didn't think it was in doubt because every commercial I saw had those players in it with their names lit up. So it's like, hey, vote for your favorite all-star from
Using
your
Jedi
divisions.
mind trick. Vote for
Wink,
these
wink, wink, wink,
guys.
wink.
Vote for these guys.
Like,
Jedi
it
mind
wasn't
trick.
even subliminal advertising. It was,
In your
here's
face.
these players, vote for them.
Yeah.
So it's just this force-fed, here's who we want in here, here's who we want the captains to be, because we want that's what we want. So vote. Oh, look, it's
Oh,
these guys.
weird.
Shocking.
Yeah.
It's all shenanigans,
I
right?
agree.
For a fan vote, for a all-star game, it's like we don't actually pick the players. Fans don't really matter in this because those four guys were all going to be in it, regardless as to how you decided that they were going to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really the fan vote didn't really matter to get them in.
Just
Now
publicity.
we get the fan vote. We can pick another four players for your game with the last man in vote. So once the NHL has decided, here's all the other guys we want in. Now you guys can pick from the scrap heap and decide who else gets in. Where did we miss on not letting one of these guys in? And
Right.
even that is fairly obvious. I don't think it's that huge of a competition, even on those lists. It's close. It's way closer than the captains for sure,
Oh yeah.
but it's still a joke of a selection process.
Right.
Absolutely a joke of a selection process. Because I think even after that, I think they still have to name some rookies that get in. Because I thought there has to be some rookie representation, and so if they're not going to be
Probably.
in all this stuff, like because Makar's got to be there, well, Olafson was going to be there if it wasn't for whatnot. You had to have somebody named Hughes in there. Like
Right.
they're going to have some rookie representation because they always do, and they have to have every team represented, which is another joke.
Yeah, I don't agree with that one either.
Why is that important?
Equality.
Equality is not letting bad players into the All-Star game.
Yes.
That's stupidity is what that is.
Uh-huh.
No, and for the skills competition, okay, moving on from how we pick guys to the skills competition. This needs some desperate revamping.
Yes, it does.
Because, quite frankly, to watch some of these players who are the highest level of talent hockey players in the world, apart from Tyler Bertuzzi, be on display and then do stupid stuff like putting passes into tiny goals or shooting plates in the corners of a goal from a standing position right in center. Like, nobody takes that shot in the NHL. That shot doesn't exist in the NHL, where you can just stand there and someone passes you the puck, you look at the corner, and you shoot into the corner. That's not how they play. They need to skate and shoot, and pass and shoot, and stick handle and shoot. It needs actual NHL action.
Yes.
Because that's the skill that I want to see. If I went out there and you gave me enough time to practice on skates, I could do a lot of that stuff. Not nearly as good as they do, but you give me enough shots at those things, I'm going to hit them. You give me enough chances to bounce a puck over a board into a little goal, I can do that.
Right. And
I
some of
can't
them
do it
can't
while
even do that
skating.
very well.
Yeah, well, because like they don't train to stand still.
Yeah.
And do this stuff. It's like you're taking them out of their normal thing. So no wonder you have a guy standing there for 7 or 8 attempts trying to get the puck into the goal that's 20 feet away. Because, well, boy, if I could just start skating and have the little goal skating too, like have that moving,
right?
I'd be able to throw that pass right in there. I want to see that happen because that's a level of skill that I want to see.
Oh yeah.
But no, let's make it very dumb and simple for our stupid American television audience.
Correct.
So that it's easy to watch. By making it easy to watch, you make it extremely boring and not relevant to what these hockey players' skills in the skills competition can actually do.
Right. How do you feel about the hardest shot one?
Overall, part of what I would want to revamp is here's where the fan vote comes in. I want the fans to vote for their top 5 hardest shot
Yes.
contestants
Yes,
to
I
go to
agree.
the hardest shot competition. They don't go to the game because that's going to be decided differently, and I'll hit on that in a minute.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, then we can have Chara and Ovechkin and Weber and, you know, Myers or any of these big defensemen that have a cannon of a shot.
Oh yeah.
If their fans vote them in, sweet. Now we actually have guys that can all hit 100 miles an hour plus
And that's
on their
what I
slap
like
shot.
seeing. Just sheer number of how fast they can actually shoot the puck. That blows
That
my
that
mind.
that would be exciting to watch guy after guy after guy hit 97,
Yes.
97 and a half, and then have one guy come in that can actually go over 100 in Ovechkin, and then everybody else 97. It's like this wasn't even close,
Eh,
and it wasn't that eye popping.
no.
It was a bunch of buildup of drama that didn't really happen because it was like nobody's here is as good as Ovechkin at this
Right.
because you didn't bring Chara and you didn't bring Weber
Right.
and you didn't bring Subban.
Yeah.
Like we need these guys. If you want that kind of a competition, let it be the best of that skill in that competition.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should be a separate vote, a separate roster. I mean, you can
And
be on both, of course.
if you want to
But
make that a fan vote, make it a fan vote. If you want to make it a player vote, make it a player
oh
vote.
yeah, absolutely.
I don't care, but it needs to be its skills competition needs to be its own vote in thing, in
Yes,
my
it does.
opinion.
Yes, it does. I
Um,
think that would make it a whole lot better. Like I say, I think it's just more entertaining the game, and I mean, I agree with your points that half the competitions are like, "Ooh, yay," and the other half are like, "Oh, okay, this could be cool if everybody was here that was a good
like,
participant."
do you think anybody's going to beat McDavid this year in fastest skater?
No,
Do you think there's anybody's going to come even close? There's no
no.
Larkin, there's no Grabner, there's
Yeah,
no
Larkin's not going, is
MCU,
he?
there's no like, well, probably not. And if he does, he might take the suspension because he really likes time off.
Right? Yeah, no
Um,
kidding. No,
but
but yeah,
like,
McDavid
it's
definitely.
not going to be as entertaining.
Yeah.
It's just not. And then they're going to skate against the clock. They're not going to skate against each other. So there's not even a level of
All right,
competition there.
we'll just play for second place. It's fine.
Well, like
Oh, you can put them all on
you
the
could
ice at
have
the
a
same time and see
skate
what happens.
around. You could do a lot of different stuff. There needs to be some imagination, creativity in these different skills competitions because it's been the same thing now. I think for the last 3 or 4 years that I've watched it,
Yeah.
and it's just so dead gum boring at
Yeah,
times.
I agree.
Like, I mean, apart from the top end guys doing this, I mean, I know they have the whole stick handling thing where you got to go through this stuff and then flip this through these, different lit up
Mm-hmm.
openings that are in different stacks, kind of thing. And I watched Johnny Goudreau go through that and
Yeah.
blow it out. Nobody even came close to his score.
And he almost
It was
messed it up
like,
the last time too.
and I was like, okay, but when ever in NHL hockey do you need to pick the puck up on your stick, raise it 2 feet in the air, and put it through a hole?
Only if you're
You don't.
Svechnikov.
Well, that could be a fun thing. Is here's actually what I want to see. I want to see the game of horse played with hockey players.
Yeah.
And so you take the goal, right, and you put on one of those goalies that, doesn't block the corners or the 5-hole.
Right.
Then the players get to choose from where on the ice the shot will take and what kind of shot they want to take. If a guy just wants to take a boring wrist shot from a dot and say top left corner, you can do that. But whatever.
Yeah.
I want to see you guys go out there and be like, all right, you have to do the Snetchnikov. You get one shot at it. And so he'll come out and, that he's got to hit that shot. If he hits that shot, then all the other guys have to come in and try and hit that shot or get a letter. And if somebody wants to do, all right, I want to skate left to right across the ice, between the legs, flip it, the Kachuk in overtime kind of goal. But you got to do that top corner. Like, they have the skill to take some really cool shots from some crazy angles or backhand between the legs, Smeshnikov goal
Yeah.
kind of thing, and let them get creative. Don't put so many like you're killing the creativity that makes these guys so much fun to watch because you get to watch creativity as they play and do different things. But once you get to a skills competition, it's like do it this way, do it this way, do it this way, and it's too boring.
Agreed. So.
And I know some guys are left hand versus right hand, and so you obviously have to have a caveat of, in order to do this, like if a guy with a left-handed shot takes a shot from like about the goal line, a right-handed shot isn't going to be able to make that shot.
Right.
So you'd have to have a
Except
caveat
on the
of
opposite side, maybe or something.
yeah, especially you have to do it the opposite way of what they did.
So if you're
to pass.
So if you're on the backhand, the other guy's on his backhand too, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
that would be
if
cool.
you're Svechnikov and coming around the goal and flipping up into that corner, you're not going to be able to do that with
No.
chased.
No.
But these are all, and I haven't said anything that puts players at risk. I haven't said
No,
anything that costs a ton of money to do.
no,
It's just some creative ideas to do some things different that would be a little more accurate to the skills that these guys have to show it off to the world. And I think it'll be very entertaining
I agree.
and provides for some good replay.
Oh
You know,
yeah, that'd get the
so
buzz up going around for the NHL for sure.
um, so that's how I changed that format.
Yeah, I agree. I like
Now
that change.
here's then the next big change that I think needs to be made is the voting in of guys and how we get to which guys go to the All-Star break. No more voting generally.
Okay,
You take the points leaders at each position as of the 1st of January.
well, there you go.
So you take the top three centers from the East, the
Well,
top
that's
three
real cut and
centers from
dry.
the West in points.
Yeah.
Wingers. Defensemen, take the top four defensemen from each side in points.
I
All
think
right.
currently there's only one defenseman in for the Pacific.
Well, you know why? Because they're still planning on certain guys to get in either through the last man in vote or the rookie naming vote. Like they already have these things figured out. They're going to fill the rosters
Yeah,
regardless as to what the fans do because they've already just that's the way this is, and it's just stupid.
it is. I agree.
Manufactured drama or whatever.
Attempted drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
So
it's also games across the board.
imagine if you knew that the points mattered for the All-Star game, you'd be watching the scoring race much more
Oh yeah.
interested because you're like, oh boy, here we are in November, and so he's probably going to make the All-Star game. And then somebody starts getting hot, and they start jumping. They went from having 20 points to now they're at 35 points. They're right behind the top three guys in that position. And boy, here we go towards the end of the December. Is he going to stay hot and get there?
Yeah, no, I agree.
It gives you a race to watch as a fan leading up to the All-Star game to see who played their way into the All-Star game. Because players, they're going to go out and try and get points whether they want to go to the All-Star game or not, because that's their job. That's how they're going to win games. So you're not going to change the way they play up to the 1st of January because, like, I don't want to go to here, so I'm going to not score as many goals until after that.
No,
that's not going to happen.
That's not.
So you don't change any of the competitiveness in hockey, but you give the fans something else to watch and look forward to going forward. And that I think is going to be that'd be awesome.
Man, Gary Bettman should talk to us, like for real.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could stand to talk to him for more than 5 minutes.
Well, okay, how about just read an email from us?
Okay, that'd be fine. Or maybe if he just listens, if we just slip this podcast to him somehow, like drop it in his Twitter DMs.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure he's on there.
Right.
And then maybe you have a vote in, like after you take the top of those guys, then you have a vote in just in case Crosby or somebody didn't have as good of a year and they still want him in.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be some guys that are good players that deserve to miss the first half of the season, part of the season due to an injury.
Yeah.
It's like Mikko Rantanen really wouldn't get into the All-Star game this year because he doesn't have points because he missed so much time. But if people really wanted him in, you could vote him in and say, hey, he deserves it. Absolutely. Or you could have the players vote guys in or whatever. So that would give you your roster, okay? And you would totally ignore, we don't need somebody from every team. We need the best players at these positions this year. That's a true All-Star for this year.
Yep.
Then what you're going to do is you're going to take all those players and all the guys in the Atlantic Division, all the guys in the Central Division get paired together for one team. And then you pair the other two divisions. So you have, it's not just East versus West. You start mixing up
there you go.
Those guys.
Yeah.
And then when you play the game, what you're going to do is you're going to play the first period 5-on-5, true 5-on-5. Then you're going to go to 4-on-4 in the second, then end the game in 3-on-3. So you get all different styles of the game. As guys get tired playing in a fake game, you then have fewer and fewer guys that you have to keep throwing out there, right? In 3-on-3 with that bigger roster, you're only going to see Ovechkin and Ovechkin and McKinnon and
see them together. That'd be
Drew Doughty. Awesome. Those three guys together, outing ice together. But you're only going to see that shift a few times because you still got to pair up, all your other pairs of players to get them out there in 3-on-3.
Right.
But then if you mix those guys together, I mean, how much fun would it be to see like Austin Matthews and McKinnon playing on a line against Ovechkin and McDavid? In a 3-on-3 to end.
No, that would be worth tuning in for sure.
And I know they did the whole fantasy draft thing several years ago, and that was just manufactured drama that just had no place in this at all. It was awful. So I don't need to see that again.
Right, I agree.
But this whole thing can be done way way better.
Oh yes, I agree.
So there's my rant points of how everything in the
How are they on what?
All-Star game needs to change.
Okay. Yeah, I see you cut out there for a sec. Yeah, no, I am definitely on board with all those changes. I mean, I think if you do that, it would lock up a game real nice, and that'd be worth tuning in for.
And maybe players would actually want to come play for it instead of sitting out.
Yeah, that too. And I agree. I heard somebody, I think it's Puck Podcast, saying, if a guy's been in the league 5 years, 10 years, he should have the option to opt out and not be suspended. He's old.
I'd be okay with that.
He's
That'd
old,
be fine.
yeah. But
yeah,
what you gonna do?
Veteran status achieved. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. You don't have to be here.
Exactly. Okay, you've earned it, kid. Stay home. So.
All right. So my rant is over. What do you want to talk about?
It looks like we talked about the two locks versus the field. Let's see. This one we talked about. I picked two teams, or each of us picks two teams from one conference, and then we basically say, okay, I'll take those two teams, or we'll take the field for doing well in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like very
well. Doing well. I'm thinking more for Stanley Cup. Like, and I don't know, say representing for the Stanley Cup or winning. Probably just representing that conference for the Stanley Cup. Yes. Who will represent the East and the West? I'll have to choose out of the East. You'll have to choose out of the West.
Correct. So what are your two choices for me?
My two choices are for you. You can either have St. Louis and Colorado, or you can have the rest of the Western Conference.
Oh, that's such a hard choice. And I'll give you yours too. I picked Washington and Tampa Bay.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So I like what you did there. Because for you, I took a chance going two Central Division teams because that's still letting you have Vegas, which is looking more and more like a legitimate
and that's
Stanley
where I'm
Cup
torn
team like we thought they would be.
Vegas is who I picked to go from the West, so I feel like I almost have to take the field. But Colorado and St. Louis, that's just so darn hard to bet against.
Well, I know Colorado and St. Louis would have to play each other in the second round.
Right.
Because like they're in the same division, so they're not both going to even get to the Western Conference final, let alone win the Western Conference until they play each other early on. Right. So you really kind of have to ride with a pretty tight restriction there because you're kind of pinned by the division. Because I don't think either one of those teams is going to fall to a wild card spot.
Right, I agree with that.
What you did with me, though, is you gave me Washington, who is just playing phenomenal this year and looks solid through and through, which is a definite cup contender. And then you went and said, okay, sure, Boston is Boston, and they made it so far last year, and they're top of their division this year. But look at what Tampa Bay is doing. Look at how hot Tampa Bay is getting. Look at the way that they're playing. I would think on that, and I would say, you know what? I gotta believe that there's going to be a couple teams that get hot towards the end of this year, and one of them might be Tampa Bay. Very well. But I gotta think that something like Carolina, Toronto, even Boston, the Islanders, and really, I think Pittsburgh. I think if you would have given me Washington and Pittsburgh, I would have been hard pressed to not take.
I thought about Pittsburgh too, but
or actually Tampa Bay Pittsburgh. Tampa Bay Pittsburgh might be one that I'd be like, ooh,
yeah,
I really should probably take the Tampa Bay Pittsburgh. But I think I'm going to take the field, and I'm going to leave Washington and Tampa Bay out there, and say I'll take one of the other 6 teams that makes the playoffs in the East to represent the East in the Stanley Cup.
Okay, I think I will also take the field as hard as it is. Like I said, because I picked Vegas to go, so I feel like I have to kind of stay back on that one.
Yeah, you have the field plus Vegas.
Yeah,
because like Vegas is like legit.
Oh, yeah.
There, I felt like there was only those 3 teams. There was only St. Louis, and Vegas that I would say are legit Western Conference champion teams right now, and I just felt like Vegas was the weakest option of them. Just given the way that those teams have played last year, the way they were playing this year.
Yeah, and then the other option was like, since you point you made, they'll meet up in the second round, Colorado and St. Louis. That just diminishes the chances even more. But I definitely think one of those two teams will be in the Western Conference Finals for sure. I don't.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can't see any other way around that. So
Yeah, because I can't see a team beating both of them,
correct.
right?
Whatever
Because
team beats
like
both of them, I think they might win the Stanley Cup.
right, because like whoever is the third place team in the Central, second or third place team is going to have to beat one of these two teams and then play whoever St. Louis or Colorado beats out of the wild card. Which I don't
Right.
think any of the wild card teams this year are going to be that strong unless we get towards the end of the year and even though they were good to start, they suffer injuries in March and they're not as strong a team going into the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
which is totally the case.
Oh yeah.
But no, I think somebody would have to beat both Colorado and St. Louis if you're a wild card or a Central Division team before you even saw who came out of the Pacific.
That's a tall order.
So yeah,
So we're both taking the field. I guess we'll kind
we're
of
both taking the field. Yep.
reevaluate come playoff time and see what happens.
Now, now, tell me this: if I just threw Vegas into yours and gave you those three teams, you would take those three teams,
Oh, absolutely.
right? And if it was Washington, Tampa Bay,
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
and Pittsburgh, I would take those three. If it was Washington, Tampa Bay, and Boston, I might even take that as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
it's just a tough choice.
I, I'm better off taking the six than the two.
Exactly. Maybe we should have made it 3.
Mm.
We'll come back to that.
There's always next year.
Yeah, that's right. The one thing we did bump up to 3 is our graveyard segment. So last
True.
time we added Detroit and LA. So this time we're going to bump up to 3 because somebody did some math and like, wait a minute, this would be a little bit more of a challenge if we do 3 instead of 2. And I agree. I think it's a good thing to bump up. And we're in agreement on New Jersey, Ottawa, and Anaheim.
Yep.
I don't
Throw,
think they're gonna
throw some dirt on that coffin and say your words.
Oh yeah, I agree
Yep.
with that. So, but yeah, with that, is there anything else you were wanting to talk or rant about tonight?
I think I've probably ranted enough for one
For an
evening.
episode? Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I should probably calm down.
okay, yeah. Go drink some water, listen to some
Mm-hmm.
nice soothing music, watch some hockey, maybe, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You want to predict who the next coach will be in Nashville?
who they'll be hiring?
Yes.
I don't even know. Because they've hired the assistant too, right?
Yeah, like they have not named a coach. So there's speculation that somebody is out there that's going to be named head coach from one of the firings or an AHL call up.
I will
Like
say it
they've
will not
already.
be Babcock.
Okay, I'll say it will not be Peters.
Pretty sad bets.
I think the conversation is between the former New Jersey coach and Pete DeBoer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's too soon to throw out a speculation on that one yet, but.
Oh, it's never too soon to speculate. That's the fun of speculation.
Right, that's very true. That's very true.
I would say this: if they can get Pete DeBoer this year,
Yeah,
that's a team that's going to make the run.
I agree.
Like that, they're going to get back in the playoff hunt. But time will tell.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, well, if there's nothing else for tonight, my name is Justin,
My name's Alexander.
and this is the Hockey Podcast you're about to hear, which you just did. Thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.